Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. It's me, Kathleen Wells. I'm here live. It's exciting. One of the things I want to talk about today, first let me do some housekeeping and say, please go to the Naked Truth Report YouTube channel and subscribe to the station and share and like and share and like and share and like, because, I want to get those numbers up because I'm taking the show to the national stage. I can foresee that, can't you? Anyway, go to the Naked Truth Report YouTube channel and share and like and share and like and share and like and all that good stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And also go to my website, thenakedtruthreport.com, and you can purchase some swag, some merchandise, the Naked Truth Report t-shirts and stuff like that. Go check it out. As Dennis Prager says, you have to support the fighters. If you're not a fighter, support the fighters. And I'm a fighter. We know I'm fighting for America and for black Americans. It needs to be done because no one's doing it. Let me tell you, when you listen to black politicians and black academicians and black preachers, they have failed for 5-6 decades. In fact, that was something that President Trump said when he delivered his speech in front of Benedict College, is that the Democratic Party black Americans have been the most disappointed by the policies coming out of D.C., the policies coming from the politicians. They delivered nothing, essentially. Not essentially. In fact, they've delivered nothing to black America. So today represents, I think tomorrow will be the 40th anniversary of the Iran hostage, when 53 Americans were held hostage in Iran in 1979. And I was watching this on Washington Journal. They had one of the guys that was he was a former diplomat, former Foreign Service officer, John Limbert, Limbert. He was actually someone who was held hostage, one of the Americans held hostage, and they were held hostage for over a year, 444 days. And the other young man was Stuart Eisenstadt, who was he was the chief domestic policy advisor in the Carter administration. This is an interesting thing. I mean, I was young when I remember that taking place, and I remember there being yellow roses on trees to represent solidarity with the hostages. And I also remember when you would listen to the news, they would count down. This is day 5. This is day 6. And this went on for 444 days. When you would listen to ABC News, the main, the news, NBC or whatever. This is day 44 of the Americans being held hostage. Well, what I gathered, I learned something listening to these folks, these two gentlemen talk about this issue on Washington Journal. And what I gathered from that is that Carter operated from his heart instead of his head. This is something that Dennis Prager frequently talks about. When you operate, this is for adults, when you operate from your head, your heart, as opposed to your head, the repercussions, it can be dangerous. The ramification, and with the Carter administration, I think that's something that you see for certain. Not only did, he didn't, one of the things they brought up, he didn't draw a line in the sand, set a deadline. If the hostages are not released by this time period, X, Y, and Z will happen, as draw a line in the sand. Also, Khomeini actually did things that were sort of even though they negotiated that the hostages, that the American citizens would be released, Khomeini sort of waited until, Carter was out of office to release them, you see. So he was sort of like a punch in the eye of Carter. Also, the guy that was in his administration made clear that Carter spent it consumed. It took all the oxygen out of the room. The hostage situation took all the oxygen out of the room for that year and a half, for those 444 days. Carter refused. He didn't spend time on other issues. In fact, that's why, and it's suggested that's why he lost his campaign, because he didn't spend time campaigning. He was consumed by it. In fact, they said he would get up in the morning thinking about this, is what his advisor said. He would get up in the morning thinking about it and go to bed thinking about it. That's all he did. So he was operating from his heart and not his head, because there were certain things, he should have done things differently, That's one of the things that I think you should check it out. There on C-SPAN, they're going to be doing a whole thing tomorrow on C-SPAN 3. A lot of, and this is why history is important. History is important. Knowing history is important because it allows you to put things in proper context. It gives you a proper perspective, and you don't repeat it. You don't repeat the same mistakes. And this is why so many, I saw a report that said recently that a large swath of millennials support socialism. Well, they're not being properly educated if they do, right? Because history tells us what socialism has done, how ineffective it has been, how detrimental it has been. So the fact that millennials are supporting, a large swath of millennials are supporting socialism, says they're not being properly educated, they're being indoctrinated. That's a problem. I learned, and you should always learn. You should always be learning. So I learned something I'm familiar with. I majored in political science, but I didn't study the Iran situation. But I learned something by listening to the gentleman talk about the issue on Washington Journal, and also from the callers that called in. You see, you're always supposed to be learning and evolving, correct? Am I right? Yes, I'm right. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is that, I wanted to touch on impeachment. That's right. So there's an article that Alan Dershowitz wrote in The Hill. A partisan impeachment vote is exactly what the framers feared. Hamilton warned of the greatest danger, that the decision to move forward with impeachment will be regulated more by the comparative strength of the parties than the real demonstrations of innocence or guilt. He worried that the tools of impeachment would be wielded by the most cunning or most numerous factions and lack the requisite neutrality towards those whose conduct would be the subject of scrutiny. As Dershowitz writes, he says, impeachment is an extraordinary tool to be used only when the constitutional criteria are met. These criteria are limited and include only treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So in the next couple of weeks, presumably the Democrats are going to be making a public, because for the last couple of weeks, the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've been conducting themselves in secret, closed door sessions. They've been, Adam Schiff has been having, even though these aren't highly classified matters, impeachment should always be held in a bipartisan way, publicly, in front of the American people, because the American people are the one, because impeachment is it's a political issue. In the sense, not political in the sense that a Democrat or, that it can be partisan, but political in the sense that the American people have voted for President Trump, and so therefore the American people have a say as to whether or not Trump should be impeached. Alan Dershowitz states that Hamilton made it clear that no impeachment should ever move forward without bipartisan support. And he goes on to say that such a partisan vote would deny constitutional legitimacy to impeachment. It was because of this fear of partisanship in the House that the framers left the ultimate decision to remove an official to the Senate. The framers intended the Senate, which was not popularly elected at the time the Constitution was written, to be less partisan and to act more like judges. Dershowitz states, this is an article Alan Dershowitz wrote, if President Trump is impeached, it is certainly possible that his lawyers would ask Chief Justice John Roberts to play a more substantive role. If the grounds for impeachment designated by the House include criteria such as maladministration or corruption, his lawyers could plausibly demand the Chief Justice to dismiss the charges as unconstitutional. After all, the framers explicitly rejected maladministration as a ground for impeachment and removal. James Madison, the father of our Constitution, argued that such open criteria would give Congress far too much power to remove a duly elected president. It would, he feared, turn our republic into a democracy in which the chief executive served at the pleasure of the parliament and could be removed by a simple vote of no confidence. Dershowitz states, how many times have we heard from Democrats that no one is above the law in reference to President Trump? He says this is true, but also the Congress is not above the law either. So this is where we're headed. The next couple of weeks, the Democrats are going to be making a public appeal, presumably, to the American people. They're going to have evidence that is publicly heard within the next 2 weeks, presumably, by the American people as to why Trump should be impeached. It should be interesting, right? We already know that the Democrats, they took a vote on the procedural aspects of the impeachment proceeding. The impeachment, they're calling it an impeachment inquiry, but for all intents and purposes, it is an impeachment process that they're going through. And no Republicans voted for this impeachment inquiry, the procedural aspects of the impeachment. Is a resolution for impeachment inquiry. So it's sort of like they're sort of trying to turn, because they've been going on for 2 or 3 weeks now in closed door sessions. So now they're sort of trying to back up. I don't know what the Democrats are doing, whatever. And, Democrats always have a trick up their sleeve. It's never straight. It's always some kind of finagling, or they're trying to do something tricky. It's not straightforward. And all the pundits on TV they always twist it and turn it to make sense, and it doesn't make sense what they do. If you're familiar, if you dig and do your research, a lot of the folks that support the Democrat voters just support anything that Democrats do. Nothing that the Democrats do is ever suspicious or suspect or wrong. Everything the Democrats do to Democrat voters is justified. They don't see any fault, any flaw in anything that the Democrats, any conduct, any of the behavior of the Democrats. It's always okay. They can always justify it. They can always, and that's what, people like, who's the guy, Juan Williams on Fox, and that other woman, what is her name? I can't remember the woman's name. Jessica Tarlov. Yeah. They justify anything. Democrats never do anything wrong. And Republicans always do something wrong. And I think Republicans are different in the sense that you don't always get all Republicans agreeing to the same things. But Democrats always agree on everything, except two Democrats did not vote for this resolution for an impeachment inquiry, which is rare. But the reason why those two Democrats didn't vote on it is because, they're in districts where Trump has won in 2016. Anyway, the other thing I want to talk about is that, let's see, an Oregon judge recently put a temporary restraining order, 28 days. This was just yesterday. 28 days temporary restraining order on Trump's proclamation that immigrants coming to the country must have health insurance. They must obtain health insurance within 30 days of coming to the United States. So an Oregon judge, a federal judge, U.S. District Court judge, placed a temporary ban on that because immigrant advocates, activists, organizations came forward and filed a lawsuit on Trump's proclamation. Now we know that it's a temporary restraining order. I guess it's because it would allow the folks that brought the lawsuit to conduct enough research and come up with enough data to make a sufficient argument as to why this proclamation by Trump should not be held as constitutional. So, and in fact, that proclamation by Trump, which he made in October, was supposed to take effect today. Yeah. So it's on hold for 28 more days. So the people that argue on behalf of the ban being unconstitutional say that immigrant families are going to be adversely impacted, detrimentally impacted by this ban. That this ban favors immigrants with money and adversely impacts low-income immigrants. But the issue is that Americans should come before immigrants, right? And when I say immigrants, I'm talking about I'm assuming this is legal immigrants. Because we know, even illegal aliens are not immigrants. Although I was looking in the dictionary recently, and they've changed the definition of an immigrant. Because the definition used to be someone that volunteers to come to the United States. They've taken out the word volunteer. I think the definition is something like someone who goes from one country to the next. So they've changed that definition. So we're talking about immigrants, we're talking about legal immigrants this was the proclamation that Trump issued in October. Legal immigrants must be able to obtain insurance within 30 days of coming to the United States. So American citizens are more important than immigrants, are they not? Their interests are more important than immigrants. So let's listen to, this is the interview that I conducted this was the last interview that I conducted at FAIR's event, Hold Your Feet to the Fire, when I was in DC with an angel mom. Her name is Ingrid Lake. So let's are we going to go to a break? So the interview's 12 minutes, so I'm going to talk for another 5 minutes before we go to a break. Okay? So what do I want to say for 5 minutes? What I'll say is this. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, what do I want to talk about for another 5 minutes before I go for a break? Because when I come back from the break, I want to be able to let you hear the interview without interruption. So let's go back to this issue about the hostages. Why is it more important for adults? Why is it important for adults to think with their head and not with their heart? I think, and this is the one thing that I think that Democrats don't understand. They don't understand human nature. They have all this experience because the best experience, we learn from our experience. Experience is the best teacher. And so Democrats don't learn from their experience. They have a theory about human nature, that human nature is good intrinsically, and therefore we do everything to sort of support this good nature of humans. But when we look at world history, we realize human nature is not good. The natural impulse for human beings is not to be good, but to be self-centered, selfish, greedy, self-interested, insecure, jealous, coveting what other people have, correct? That's people with experience realize that's the nature of humans. World history tells us that and that's why they have these commandments. Don't covet. What is it? Thou shalt not covet my neighbor's, thou shalt not murder. So human beings have an inclination to do these things. And so society gives us standards and values and parameters to work against our nature, to do things that we have a natural inclination to do. Society sets rules and regulations so that we're not led by our nature to covet what our neighbor has, to want to take, when you think about people, there was one story I think of, someone wanting someone else's partner. You always hear about that. I was just someone desiring someone else's partner. This is natural for human beings to do this, and there must be rules and regulations to preclude them from doing it. Let me weigh the consequences, weigh the burden. Listen, it's not cool I'm inclined to do this, but I'm not going to do it because the consequences are too grave for me to do it. There are consequences if I do X, Y, and Z. So I don't want to do it's best I don't do it. People have a tendency to want to break the law naturally, to want to speed. It's just so anyway, how many more minutes? Oh, we have 1:30. So then I want to talk about for 1:30 the hostages being held. So what was the natural inclination for the folks in Iran? What was the natural inclination for Khomeini? If he's not being squeezed, so to think, if there wasn't a consequences, if he wasn't being put in a box, if he wasn't feeling threatened, if there weren't consequences, he felt that he had the power to stretch it out for 444 days, correct? He didn't feel any kind of pressure from Carter to do the right thing. So it was a fight of who has the most power, the will. Who has the most power, Carter or Khomeini? And Khomeini's still sort of like, stuck his finger in Carter's eye. After all those days of negotiating, he still didn't release the hostages until Carter left office. And in that sense, Reagan sort of was able to take credit for it. So anyway, we finished the 1:30, and now we're going to take a break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to listen to Angel Mom, Ingrid Lake. We'll be right back.
Wash your face and hands. Get out of that bed. Wash your face and hands. Well, you get in that kitchen, make some noise with the pots and pans. Well, you wear those dresses, sun comes shining through. Well, you wear those dresses, sun comes shining through.
Okay, welcome back to the Kathleen Wells Show. Oh, why do I do that? The Naked Truth Report. The Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. Welcome back. And we're going to hear my interview that I conducted with Angel Mom, Ingrid Lake at Fairs. Hold Your Feet to the Fire. I went there about, 5 weeks ago. This is the pre-recorded interview. And she's an American citizen. Okay? American citizens are more important. Their interests are more important than immigrants or illegal aliens, correct? And this is something that the Oregon court needs to know. This is something that Democrats need to know. The interests of American citizens are more important than immigrants or illegal aliens. So let's listen to this interview with Angel Mom. It's only 12 minutes with Angel Mom, Ingrid Lake. Thanks, Jeff. Hi, this is Kathleen Wells, host of the Naked Truth Report, and I'm here at Fairs, Hold Your Feet to the Fire, Immigration Radio Row event. I'm excited to be here, and I'm joined by Ingrid Lake, who is a San Diego resident, and she's also an angel mom. And she's here, and we're going to talk about her experience being an angel mom. Ingrid, welcome to the Naked Truth Report. What do you want to tell us?
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to share a little bit about my son. He's 8 years old now, and I'm been included in as an angel mom, which is very generous of these families that are here, but it's a little different for me because my son is still alive. We were hit by a drunk driver 2 years ago who had been deported 17 times prior to our accident, and this was his third DUI. He left us for dead on the side of the road. I had to resuscitate my own child. And then Lennox spent a month in the hospital with severe brain damage and skull fractures, and he just went through an unbearable amount of pain and suffering at the hands of this person who, when tried, during both trials, they both ended in hung juries, so he was never even convicted for what happened to our son. And we live in California, which is a sanctuary state, and because of this, if this person who did this comes back to the state and is found driving without a license or doing any minor thing, despite all the pain that he's caused our family, he'll be sheltered under SB 54, the sanctuary state law, from deportation. The local police won't be able to turn him over to Border Patrol or ICE, and that's really frustrating.
Talk closer to the mic.
And it's just really frustrating. It's because he finally was charged for his immigration violations after this accident. People actually stepped up and took notice for the first time, because he's never charged the other 17 times that he was deported and came back. It was just catch and release. He was
deported 17 times?
17 times that we know of.
Oh my God. How did this, he was driving drunk?
He was driving drunk.
In San Diego?
Yes. In San Ysidro, it's very close to the border.
Mm-hmm.
We were on our way home from Disneyland, and we were about to turn into our neighborhood, and he blew through a stop sign going 50 miles an hour and slammed into the side of our car, and the primary impact point was right where Lennox was sitting. So he took the brunt of it.
And your son was in a seat?
He was in a car seat, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably saved his life because it had the wraparound head protector and everything.
Right. And did you sustain injuries from it?
My husband and I, we sustained minor injuries, but at the time we never sought treatment just because we were so concerned with him. We were by his bedside every night, and we just had back and shoulder pains and things like that. Nothing compared to what he experienced.
And why was when he was charged with vehicular assault?
It was felony DUI with severe bodily injury or death.
And why was it a hung jury, do you believe?
There were two illegal immigrants in the truck, or illegal aliens, whatever people are calling them.
Illegal aliens.
Illegal aliens in the truck. And each one said that the other one was driving, and because they drove off, the lesson that we learned is if somebody hits somebody, the best approach is to drive away, because a lot of times hit and runs, by the time you apprehend somebody, it's very hard to prove that it's the same person who was behind the wheel. So the two men pointed the fingers at each other and said the other one was driving, and there was a lot of problem with evidence collection or the lack thereof, because the San Diego police just kind of said, oh, this guy was behind the wheel when we found the truck, so he must be the driver. And so that was a huge let down.
Oh, so it's like a technicality. Well, they know, in fact, when I went to the DMV for a traffic ticket, I saw a lot of Hispanic folks would go up and say, "Oh, that's not me." It's like a strategy, like they have a fake ID or something,
Mhm.
or and so they're saying, "Oh no, I'm not responsible." They may be responsible, but they claim false identity,
Yeah.
and so that's what this accident. You're saying that you couldn't pinpoint who specifically was driving the car
Right.
or caused the accident.
And even during the second trial, when they were able to introduce evidence of the person that they were trying to convict, saying that he had been driving earlier, he was driving the truck before whatever happened to his truck happened. They were doing the preliminary interview. There was actually a Hispanic activist on the second jury, and I don't know how he made it through jury selection, but he convinced the other jurors that they don't speak Spanish, so they don't understand that that's not actually what he's saying. Even though we had it transcribed, the police did a good job, everybody verified it, but he convinced them that no, they don't understand, but that's not actually what he said. He's not admitting anything. So they were hung juries both times.
Oh my God, this is a sad tale of what's happening to our judicial. You see, this is how, when you don't follow the rule of law, how that seeps out into society on so many levels. It impacts our educational system. It impacts our housing system. It impacts our jobs. And now we're finding out it impacts our judicial system.
That's true.
And this is why the rule of law must be followed, because there are unintended consequences and things that are unforeseeable that impact American citizens. And this is why we believe in Trump. Americans should be first. This is why it's important to follow the rule of law, so situations like this don't happen. No one's held accountable. It's to have something like this occur and no one be held accountable makes it like it aggravates it. It makes it doubly worse, right?
Yes. Yeah. For a while, I really spiraled into depression after the second mistrial when they said we're not going to retry him. I was just shocked. I was shocked that that's how it shook out for us. But then I learned about other parents who had been in similar situations or worse situations. Their children died. They lost somebody. And people from Angel Families and AVAC, they've just been a real lifeline for me because they've showed me how to stand up and fight, and they're continuing to do that. I mean, they've brought me to see different people today, to talk to different people, to get my story out there, and explaining how important it is to get my story out there. And it's been huge for us. It's been incredibly valuable, and it's really helped give me the energy to keep
going. Yes.
People about this.
Well, I want to encourage you. There are people that do care. There are American citizens that do care. I want to encourage you to keep going. And what is the status now of your son? What's his position?
He's home. He lives with me. He can't go to school full time. He'll always be physically and cognitively impaired, but he has a really sweet spirit despite everything that's happened to him. He has a lot of anxiety, which is to be expected, but he's alive, and that's something that I cannot thank God enough for every single day.
How old is your son?
He's 8 now.
And is your husband still with you and supporting you and everything?
He is. He's wonderful.
Oh, that's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always a silver lining. And this legislation that you're speaking about, tell us about that legislation. SB, SB, you mentioned SB.
Oh, SB 54, the sanctuary state law?
Yeah, talk to us about that.
Well, it makes it basically impossible for local law enforcement to work with ICE or Border Patrol to make sure that illegal aliens who are committing crimes or shouldn't be in the country and have orders for deportation or removal are actually deported. It shelters them. It creates no-go zones for ICE officials to go in and take people out of them who, and these aren't, I was over at the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing today, and I'm hearing everybody talk about how we're detaining people who are just trying to do their best, and how unfair it is and difficult it makes for people. Well, this is the person who had been deported 17 times, and 3 DUIs, battery of his wife, assault, vandalism. The list goes on and on of things that he's done. This is the type of people that my understanding is this administration is going after.
Right. Well, as Trump says, they're not getting they're not sending their best.
That's true.
We're getting the worst. That's why they're coming here. The best stay there, and they're making, they're doing well in their country.
Or they're going through the correct channels
Or they're
to
going
become
through
citizens.
right. But if they're doing well the best are doing well in their country, they don't want to come to America.
Right.
You know?
They're doing just fine there.
Yeah, these are the people that, they're like not the best. They, anyway, it's very disappointing. And 17 times to be deported, he's relentless. He's determined. And obviously, he couldn't make it. Is he from Mexico?
Yes.
For some reason, to be deported 17 times, I wonder what's going on that he can't make it in Mexico.
Well, he created a family. He and his wife had 4 kids or 3 kids here in America. His wife's also illegal, still in San Diego.
Wow.
So he just kept trying to come back to them.
Well, can you call ICE on them and get them deported?
I don't know. We're trying to fight this front, and I'm more concerned about people like him. I've never thought about calling on the wife, and 'cause she has 3 sons. I have 3 sons. I've never spoken to her. I don't know anything about her, but I know she doesn't have a criminal history, and like the focus of this administration, I guess I'm focusing too on people who are hurting people or have the potential to hurt people here, and that's who I would like to see removed as soon as possible.
So, you said you were in the Judiciary Committee today?
Yes.
What hearing were you?
It was discussing basically the unfairness of the conditions and length of time people are spending in detention who are caught coming to the border or caught and then requesting asylum.
And who was speaking?
There were multiple people on each side. I'm so sorry. I'm blanking on the.
But basically, Democrats are feeling like it's unreasonable.
Democrat, not only that, but they targeted because there were a lot of angel families in that are watching, and he made a point of saying that he recognizes that we're here, but it's racist to imply that people coming here for asylum are the ones that are hurting people and murdering your children. And,
they just use that racism bit. That's
really
why they just use it. And that's why they need more black folks talking to these people, telling them, no, that's not the definition of racism. It's racism to destroy Black America, and Democrats have done that. That's the epitome of racism. But I don't even want to get into that because I don't even use the word racism anymore. I get so, I don't even use that word anymore. I hate using that word. My listeners know I don't like using that word anymore. If you can't, but they always, it's like it's such a to-go-to response to anything. Oh, it's racist, it's racist. And Latino is not a race, okay? But anyway, I won't even get into that, but I'm really...
You need another half hour for that.
Right. I don't even want to get into that. We're here. But Ingrid, I want to thank you for... you're in San Diego, so you can listen to the Naked Truth Report on AM 870. And I'm going to play this. In fact, I'll contact you when it's going to be aired because I've got a lot of interviews that I pre-recorded, and I'm going to edit them and play them. My show's on Sundays, so there'll be various Sundays where the interviews will be played, and I'll contact you and let you know. So I want to thank you for coming in and taking the time to speak with me, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry that you've gone through this. I'm grateful that your son is still alive, and I'm hopeful that things will look up for you and your family, okay?
Thank you for letting me share my story.
You're welcome. Thank you. Oh, well, that was my interview with Angel Mom Ingrid Lake. So if you want to call in, you can call in and we can talk. So I haven't prepared. How many minutes do I have now? I have 8 minutes. So call in if you'd like. Let me figure out what I'm going to talk about for the last 8 minutes. I was actually kind of dozing off. But anyway, because I'd done the interview. And so I was familiar with what she was speaking about. And this woman, she's a young woman. And in my interview with her, I could feel her sorrow and her weariness, being weary about what she's been confronting and the situation her son is in and what she has gone through. And it's a wonderful thing that the angel folks have embraced her. But I could feel that that was sort of a difficult interview for me because I could feel her sadness. Do you know what I mean? It just put her in a bad way. It's unfortunate that this illegal alien had been deported. You heard what she said. He had been deported 17 times, and he has 3 DUIs. And he comes back because why? He has a family here. He has three or four kids? And his wife is also an illegal alien. You see, this is an interesting thing to know, is that illegal aliens have been here for years developing a family, creating a family. And I can see how it is difficult to deport these people who have established a family for years. In fact, I saw recently on Washington Journal, they were making the argument that now, people have been here, illegal aliens have been here 20, 25, 30 years. And so they're elderly illegal aliens now that need services, social services, because they're elderly. Do you see? So it's just a huge, there's so many tentacles to this situation. It spreads out everywhere. The fact that we've gone decades, 3, 4, 5 decades, with millions of illegal aliens piling into America, and it's never been resolved. And the audacity of Democrats, and I can blame Republicans also, because they both have been impotent on this issue. They've done nothing. And the audacity for them to now point the finger at Trump and to sort of paint a picture of him being a racist simply because he's trying to do the best for the American people is just absurd. Politicians have had decades to resolve this issue. And the Democrats keep saying we want immigration reform, but they're just kicking the can down the road. They don't want immigration reform. They want these people here because they want them to become voters. Because this is the only, you see, now with Kanye West saying, and I love the fact that I saw an interview with Byron Allen on the Breakfast Club. And Byron Allen now owns the Griot. And I just saw a headline that said, Kanye West says the Democratic Party has brainwashed Black Americans. This is wonderful. I don't know if, the Griot wasn't owned by a Black American before. So I'm glad that a Black American now owns the Griot, because the Griot, is quite popular, particularly on social media. So that a lot of Black folks are going to see that headline. And that headline it matters. That headline is impactful. Kanye West says that the Democratic Party has brainwashed Black Americans. Now, a lot of these young folks are influenced by Kanye West, right? So I think, and the fact that he's turned to, what is his CD called? Jesus is, I don't know the name. Do you know the name of his CD, Jeff? Oh, is it Jesus? Do you know the name of the CD, Josh? Jesus. Okay. But anyway, this matters. So in other words, I hate that I say so. In other words, Kanye West is going to be more influential. Jesus is King. That's the name of it. Jesus is King. Kanye West will be more influential, will have more impact on young Black people than, say, definitely more than Black politicians, definitely more than the NAACP, definitely more than Cornel West. Cornel West is like my generation. Definitely more than Michael Eric Dyson. Who are the young Black people, young Black Americans that influence young Black folks? Rappers, right? Rappers. Who else? Can you tell me someone, Josh? Who are the young? You don't know. I can't think of the young Black people who influence the millennials. I'm thinking the rappers, but it's not the act. I don't know. Oh, Beyonce. Okay, the celebrities. Beyonce influences the young Black folks. Who else? I can't think, because I'm not a young Black folk. I'm an old Black folk. But I know the rappers. I know. Let me look on my Facebook page. Maybe somebody's saying. Let me see. If someone, I don't know if anyone's saying on my Facebook page or not, but I'm going to look. Oh, he says, Jeff tells me to talk. It was just, there was dead air. I'm sorry. I apologize for the dead air. But Michael B. Jordan. I don't know who Michael B. Jordan is. Who is Michael B. Jordan? Oh, Michael B. Jordan was in Black Panther. Who else? I don't know who the young black. Well, Kanye West. We know Kanye West, right? So he will be impactful to millennials. So this quote from him, I know the young blacks who are open will be influenced by Candace Owens, right? And then Kanye West. So he's wonderful to come out now. Because he's making it clear that he supports Trump, is he not? He's making it clear. All the young black actors and actresses they do the bidding of Hollywood and they do liberal stuff and they, they're no good. But Kanye West is making a stand. He's being different. He's making his mark. He's going against the grain. That's right. So anyway, come back next week. There's the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and there's the music. And I'll see you next week. I appreciate you listening. Don't forget to go to the YouTube channel and to subscribe, like, share, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye.
But through my